indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As many of you already know, Ruth Spencer, Gordon Rogers' mother, passed away. I would like a moment of silence in respect of Ruth. Thank you. Ruth was a longtime resident in Foster, involved with many things.
She was a kind woman. She was nice to me.
She was feisty as all, but
Yeah.
very, very nice. I'm also I need to announce Kelly Russ is excused and Gordon Rogers is excused. Yes, Cheryl.
I think just for discussion in the public's knowledge, we should put Compassion Center, just so we can say what we
Yep.
know,
Sure.
please.
So when we get to under new business,
Yeah,
all right, to add for discussion purposes only.
okay.
Remind me.
Yeah.
Because I won't.
I might forget
Yeah.
to.
At that time. Public comment? Nobody.
It is. I know.
Mine is.
It's on purpose.
We do not have anybody for public comment. Consent agenda. I
Make a
would
motion.
request that general warrant number 5 be removed from the consent agenda.
Okay, so that's two things I gotta remove.
Yes,
I
General warrant.
number 5.
make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented, with the exception of the minutes for October 10th and the general warrant number 5.
Second.
Can you,
Yeah.
can I ask why? For both?
I had spoken to Mrs. Dillon previous to the meeting. The minutes,
They've been updated online.
Right.
So you're good to go.
the minutes from October 10th, there were just 3 of us here and one of the votes stated 5-0. And it should have been 3-0.
I saw you corrected it.
So,
It showed up right away.
So can you accept?
so it's corrected. So do you want to remove
Well,
that?
I can't vote on that.
Right.
I
So
wasn't-
that's why we
That's-
pulled it, because she can't.
Oh, she can't vote on it
Yeah, but
and
there's still-
Cheryl can't vote on it.
Right, oh, so, but there's still 3 of you.
Right.
Right.
So,
So we'll do it separate.
okay, sounds good. Oh, I get you, Chris. Thank you. Took a while. Go ahead. So we're voting on
Well, what
general
about the-
warrant number 6, so everyone can vote. And then the next one, there can be not recusals, but abstentions. So you can vote
So
on,
we just
you got it.
gonna vote, and that'll.
Well, the warrants don't have
any.
anything to do with us being in a meeting, does it?
No,
No.
but so they can all vote.
I
General
don't-
warrant number 5, I asked to be removed because I am on general warrant, so I need to recuse myself.
Okay.
So
That's-
that's,
that-
okay,
okay,
so
thanks.
general warrant number 5 is pulled because I need to recuse myself. Minutes are pulled because only 3 of us can vote.
Mhm.
So all of us can vote on general warrant number 6.
Okay,
Good job, Mr. Stone.
got it.
So we're voting on general warrant number 6. The
I think
motion
it's
has been
to
made
approve.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Going back to the other minutes of October 10th. That would mean that Cheryl and Heidi would need to abstain
Mhm.
and the 3 of us. So I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes with the corrections made.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes with the corrections made.
Second,
Thank you. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor,
aye.
opposed,
Very cool.
thank you.
Abstain.
Oh,
Abstain.
2 abstains, yeah,
Yes.
thank
Two
you.
abstentions.
Yep. Can I just stand instead of have to go all around?
As long as you don't vote, you can go wherever you want.
I'll make a motion to approve general warrant number 5 in the amount of $105,108.10.
Second,
Discussion.
none.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
That seemed awful complicated.
Circuitous the way it got there, but it got done.
At the end of the meeting, it takes a little while to
Yes.
Get into the groove.
Yes. Okay, so now moving on, we are on to our public hearing regarding the municipal courts. This is our second public hearing, which means that the council may vote on it. Last time, Julia, you presented. So if you would be so kind.
Absolutely. So the municipal court ordinance is broken up into two different parts. The first part is the municipal, the second part is the housing court. So 3-1 is the establishment. So it cites the Rhode Island general law where the legislator gave the town authority to enact a municipal court. That's 45-68. Section 3-2 describes what the appointment term and qualifications for a municipal court judge are. Section 3-3 are the requirements for a municipal court clerk, that one needs to be present and what their responsibilities are. Section 3-4 is witness attendance and subpoenas. That means the court has the power to issue writs, summonses, complaints, and subpoenas for witnesses to compel attendance and to make people answer complaints and show up, etc. Section 3-5 is the power of the court to issue penalties if someone fails to appear. Section 3-6 governs seals and oaths, which means they have the power to issue oaths, to administer oaths for witnesses or people appearing in front of them or in front of the court, and then to have its own seal. Section 3-7 is time and place of sessions. So it says that regular court sessions shall be held at least once a month, and it shall be during a weekday at a time to be determined. This building is accessible. Section 3-8 is the jurisdiction of the municipal court. So the municipal court will have jurisdiction in the town of Foster, minimum housing ordinances, any of the jurisdiction that the I believe is subdivision, and then these are land use stuff, as well as concurrent jurisdiction with the district court on some of these matters. And then they can issue orders to restrain, prevent, enjoin, abate, and correct any violations. They can order repairs and demolition, and then compel compliance with the Foster ordinances and then state building code statutes. The municipal court also has concurrent jurisdiction with the traffic tribunal. It does not mean that you have to operate a traffic tribunal. It just means that in the future, if you feel that that is the right move, you can go ahead and do that. You asked for permission instead of forgiveness, essentially. Section 3-9 is imposition of penalties. So the municipal court has the authority to issue penalties in accordance with state law. Section 3-10 governs how complaints, warrants, and writs are to be made, and that they are supposed to be consistent in organization, style, and jurisdiction with the Superior Court and the District Court complaints. And that the municipal court is authorized to issue search warrants to the extent that a district court judge would be able to issue search warrants. Section 3-11 describes the costs in accordance with state law. Section 3-12 is the authority in the absence of the municipal court judge. So the municipal court judge can have an associate municipal court judge who shall serve if the municipal court judge is unavailable due to illness, vacation, etc. Section 3-14 is autonomy. That means that the court operates independent from the town and the town government, which means it is not an arm of the town council. It is independent and operates similar to a court. Section 3-15 is severability. So if in the future, a court, the state court or a federal court or the, U.S. Supreme Court decides that any of these pieces of this ordinance are unconstitutional or unenforceable, that one piece gets thrown out, the rest of the ordinance remains. Article 2 governs housing. Section 3-16 is just, that's called the housing court ordinance. Section 3-17 is the purpose, and that's to so that the town has oversight over the dwellings, the safe sanitary condition of dwellings, the minimum housing code, and zoning violations. Section 3-18 is the establishment, judge, jurisdiction, seal, and oaths, which is the same as the municipal court, so that there's a judge, that they have jurisdiction over minimum housing and land use issues, that they have their own seal, and that they are entitled to administer oaths to witnesses and people appearing before the court. Section 3-19 is powers of the housing court, which lay out the things like restrain, order abatements of violations, etc. Section 3-20 governs the sessions, so it will take place here and under such conditions that the judge feels is appropriate. So if your calendars are small and you want to do them on the same day, you can do them on the same day. If they're one's particularly large and you want to put the housing court day on a different day than the municipal court day, you are able to do that. Section 321 is administration of operation. So that the housing court judge is an administrative judge. He will have a clerk. Any stenographers or clerks will be under the supervision of the housing court judge. And it's basically all the same abilities as the municipal court judge. Section 3-22, rule of practice and procedure. It's that the housing court is authorized and directed to promulgate rules. Section 323 is authority and duties of clerks. So there will be a clerk as part of the housing court clerk, or I'm sorry, as part of the housing court. It does not need to be a different clerk from the municipal court clerk. It's just that they manage the files, keep the orders, all of that. Section 3-24 is the statutory right to appeal, that they have 20 days after entry of judgment to appeal to the Superior Court. And then section 3-25 is annual appropriations. This requires the town council to, and that's it.
Thank you, Julia.
Any questions on any of these ordinances? You know, Mrs. Rao?
I need some clarification.
Okay, is it on? Wait 1 second. There you go.
So we are going to get a court here for how many days per week or per month?
At least one, whatever's needed.
Oh,
But it
it's
can-
not permanent, it's not permanent, it's just when there is a problem.
So it's not a court for the state, it's a court for the town.
That's
So,
right.
so when the town has issues that they need to bring to court, they create a calendar for the municipal
Okay,
court.
so that's for all the trailers who are here in this town, right? People who have trailers and so on, when they don't obey, when they get them.
Oh.
No, there's not gonna, so we have the opportunity to have a traffic tribunal aspect of it, but for like speeders, but that's not where they're
No, no.
starting.
He's asking about trailer.
Oh,
In other
so
words,
yes, so
zoning
I'm sorry.
violations.
Zoning violations will come
So
here.
the zoning violations are new, they are not old, right? They
No.
are not 50 years old.
No, there are zoning violations there are zoning ordinances
Yeah.
that have been in place for
no.
many years. They're
More than
different,
45,
Mrs. Rao, may I say this, offer this for an explanation? Instead of going to court downtown, where we have
yeah.
very little say of the calendar of events, we're gonna have our own ability to hear our local cases here instead of someone being responsible to get an attorney and go downtown and get a Superior Court date, which could take, in most cases, I know COVID notwithstanding, 6 months to a year, at least. It's very, very cumbersome to
So-
deal with the state.
Okay, the last thing I'm asking is this. If I'm not satisfied with the procedure, I can go to the Superior Court directly, or do I have to go to the municipal court, or what do I have to do first?
You would come here if you were subpoenaed to come here or however they handle it. You'd come here, deal with the problem. If you do not like the outcome of the problem,
Yeah.
you have the right to appeal it and go further, correct?
But I appealed it, so what happens now?
Oh, nope, we can't talk about something
yeah,
specific.
that we can't
that
talk
we
about.
cannot-
No, the procedure, because this is a
Well, we
procedure.
can't
No, this-
discuss it now.
You just
They're not
stated,
in law yet.
you just stated the procedure, you appealed it. That's all you can,
Okay,
that's
okay.
all we need to know.
Get a decision.
No.
I don't know when that is.
We don't either.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions or concerns regarding this? Yes.
Looking at the town council can. I know about you, that would have to be somebody in town hall. Yes, because they have to collect money, they have to be, they have to be trained.
I believe, in my opinion, going to 3 different towns of similar size. The resolution says there's autonomy. So I think we have the right, the town has the right to hire someone specifically for this part-time or use an existing clerk. It's up to, the choice is, I think,
But-
still open.
But
And
it's, the payment for this clerk will come from a budget for the municipal court. It's not
Right.
coming out of your budget. Okay, all right.
It's just, when I look at what they have to do. I'm gonna have to make sure that all the paperwork is in, sending all the paperwork out, that would have to be somebody from in town that
It
knows.
Will be a town employee. They will be a like a town, it's not
Whether
just
they-
someone,
Well,
let's,
Right.
Whether,
yeah.
Somebody who's currently working under my but
right, so I think it would be in collaboration.
but I should say that then, as.
Well,
That's
Well,
how
I-
I feel. It's
I
because
don't-
The townspeople, the people in the town hall, the clerks are under me. So if I'm gonna have somebody work at the town, to do the administrative and make sure that everything is correct. Follow through, training, right, to make sure
But
everything is right.
If
I
they
have
didn't
to
pull
be-
from your department, if they pulled from somebody else's department,
Yeah, whose department are they gonna pull from?
Or a totally.
it's,
independent.
or a totally independent person.
But I think what she's saying is they're ultimately going to have to work under
Yeah.
her if they've
Yeah,
gotta
so
go in
I
her
think Sue's
office.
got a good point.
File things, pay,
Take
report
care of the money,
payments,
take care of
right?
the- right.
They would have to be under her governance, her guidance.
Yeah. And you know how I can say that that's accurate because when I originally investigated this 2 years ago and it was gonna be the recommendation was to set up for a traffic tribunal at the same time. The traffic tribunal clerk would come from the police chief's office for the same reason, because they have access to everything and a lot of it is sensitive information. So I don't disagree with you, but what is the dilemma? What about this that you don't think is
Well, the
accurate?
town council shall appoint or designate its admin clerk.
well,
whichever they-
designate, I think that's a word that,
You don't know who you can actually.
Could it be
I'm just
possible
thinking it
to have the zoning clerk, zoning and planning
Well,
clerk
that's what you would
do it?
think it would be,
You would think it would be that, but I'm not sure. if the sheriff
because the
or
police
something
chief's
else-
clerk
But she'd
would
have
run
to.
the traffic tribunal.
I can't work more than that.
I wonder if that's more of a job description thing, like a procedure for like the actual job rather than
This-
the
I know that he's-
ordinance.
well, I would, go to have some input on who we wanted for as clerk.
Or she-
Or she, he or she.
See, I think Sue's onto something.
I'm gonna say that it should be somebody independent.
Well, here's the problem with that.
But they gotta work with her.
Yeah,
in
here's-
her office.
I get it.
So the
Here's the
contract-
problem with
If I
that.
hired a new employee,
But I
Sue
think,
would work with her.
Yeah, okay, so
Or him.
let's.
but
let's-
town
play it
hall,
out.
other town hall employees do not have access to these records.
Right, let's play it out.
They can't.
If we go with someone independent, Chris,
we have one conversation.
if we go with someone independent, that person would have to be plugged into all the. And they're only working, well, as far as the town records,
Just the
No,
court
because
files.
just the
No,
court
That's
files,
the court
they
files.
can't use, the court can't on its own go and do a title search. The court can't on its own go and review a building
So,
file.
okay.
It's only
so
what's submitted. It's
you're
a
saying,
totally separate set of files.
and that's a good, and that's a
There's a
valid,
separation.
that's a valid point. You're saying that the investigatory work will be done in-house. Well, what about the
No,
original
it-
violations
You are-
before it goes to
That's
court?
No.
completely different.
I know.
Completely
So it's,
different.
I know, but that would be still the
Can I-
zoning.
It's similar.
I
I'm
will,
thinking
I can
it's
explain the procedure.
Go
So
ahead.
what happens is it's a notice of violation.
Hmm.
If nothing's done, there's no appeal taken at that level, it's referred to the solicitor to prosecute. The prosecutor, the solicitor, would then file a complaint in the municipal court. That is when it lands in front of the judge. Nothing that the judge will not necessarily see the entire building file, will not see everything unless it is submitted as evidence the same way it would be if this were a superior
Right,
court
okay.
judge. So this is not, they can
Next.
go and pull other files.
Yeah.
There are specific files for the court. The court has limited
So-
files. Sometimes they're redacted, sometimes they're not,
Mhm.
depending on what the nature of the situation is. But it's not a free-for-all.
So the separation is
It's a separation.
the separation is identical to if the paperwork left town hall and went to Superior Court.
Mhm.
Okay, we're just moving the court
So-
here.
Right.
Good point.
So then she comes in, the clerk comes in, she listens to what the judge. They ask $100, you have to take out, whatever they ask.
The ruling,
Right, but whatever it is, it comes back to the town hall, because that's the only way the paperwork can get back to those, to the person. who
wouldn't
is-
it work that way if this case went to Superior Court downtown?
I don't know, I haven't been to.
The paperwork doesn't go, no, the Superior Court has its own clerk's office that maintains the record. So there would be like, I can't imagine you're gonna need more than a filing cabinet. I don't imagine you're gonna have
We're not all of a sudden gonna read.
30,000, but it would just be like a separate filing cabinet where that separate, the court clerk would maintain the records and the court clerk would be the one to access those records
Okay.
and provide copies of those records.
So there would
Understood.
never be any mix.
There shouldn't
Doesn't
be.
have to be.
There
There
shouldn't be.
shouldn't be, because sometimes there are documents that are presented for in-camera review, which is just private review with the attorneys and the judge. Not necessarily, it's not considered public record. And there are things that are filed that are not necessarily considered public record, including things like discovery.
So the town's not mandated to use an in-house clerk, basically.
Right, that's what this is, because it depends on what your financial situation is and what the preference, because if you're likely to find a judge before you decide on the clerk situation, and this allows you to figure out what that is. But this is also not, if you vote on it tonight, the municipal court starts tomorrow. The municipal court can't start till the next fiscal year because
Right.
it needs to be budgeted for.
Right, understood.
Right,
Fair enough.
right. It's not something that if we vote on it tonight, it's gonna start next week.
Right. Yeah, that's-
It
So
has, we
here's-
don't have the finances.
Here's what I'm
to do it.
gonna say about that. I think we should let the new council.
Well, it
Vote
would
on it.
anyway, it would anyway, because.
Right, it doesn't mean it has to start. Our vote
I know
tonight
that.
Just says
I know
you
that,
can do
but-
it.
I'm saying we should table this till the new council is sitting there at the table.
I,
You have to re-advertise.
we have to,
Okay,
well, that, when we have our discussion, we can have that part of your discussion.
My question is, and I'm not sure if I'm articulating this properly, but where is the money coming from? What part of our budget is the money coming from to pay for? To pay for all of this? So is it gonna be a
This-
new?
Hopefully,
Hopefully.
separate budget.
To be determined,
Yes.
it's a,
This-
would be in a new budget.
but what would it
Next
fall under?
year's
Would it fall
budget.
under municipal court,
Yeah.
another line
Yeah.
item?
It would be
Yeah,
another
be
line item.
another
It'd be a
No, no.
different part.
So,
item. And I would hope it would support itself.
well,
You have to have seed
so
money to get
if
it
you,
going.
if you were to vote on it tonight,
Mhm.
how would you know that you would have the finances to support it in the next
You-
fiscal year?
You don't need to. This just says, hey,
We
if
can
we
do it.
have the money, we can do it. We can hire a judge, we can get this up and
And
running.
State,
This
the state
just-
enables us to do
Right,
it,
the
Gina.
state has already said, hey, Luke, at the state level, you're allowed to do this. This just governs how it would work if you
Give
decided
us
to enact
permission
it.
to do it, not
And-
that we have to do it.
So the
And have we determined what dollar amount would be? Does it?
The three,
50,000
I
for
have,
the
the
year?
three courts that I visited that are in progress or in effect right now. The budget for Burrville is $27,000 a year, meeting once a month for a judge and a clerk.
Okay.
And the software, the
And is that
additional
just
software
zoning?
price, that was, they have.
Zoning and
support.
and
Yeah.
the traffic, okay.
They bring in 80 to 90,000 average a year for an average cost of 25 to 30,000. The initial cost is gonna be, the biggest nut is going to be the software.
The biggest.
But we don't need that
However-
software because we're not gonna have a traffic tribunal right now. That $10,000 or $9,000 software is to mesh with DMV.
Well, you can't say that because that's not gonna be our decision. That would be the next.
Right, no,
council's decision,
what I
whether
mean
they have-
what I mean is their initial cost in Burrville and in Warren
Right.
was
that is
DMV
the-
software.
So what other department besides Burrville did you visit that did this?
Warren, Burrville, and what was the other one that we modeled it after? I forget. Lincoln?
Lincoln.
That's
Or-
Lincoln's way
or-
bigger than us.
Yeah, but Lincoln is the, that's the one the legislator likes. So they,
That's the one that what?
the legislator likes. So anytime someone's like, hey, we want to do a municipal court, we want to do a housing court, their attorneys just send out like, hey, use Lincoln.
Use this
Lincoln makes
model,
us happy,
template.
we can pass Lincoln.
Yeah.
Well, when you say they make $90,000 a year.
That was what they
they've got-
showed me for
Right,
documentation.
but that's not for ordinances and.
No,
No,
That's-
traffic
No, no,
tribunal.
no.
That's huge
No.
money.
I
They-
didn't-
I mean, they have truck squad, they have
I
a
didn't,
bunch more officers.
Gina, I didn't visit anyone who had just a municipal court.
Okay.
And,
Alright, that
and
was-
we
that's-
also, you speak of that. someone came and spoke to us from Traffic Tribunal.
Yes,
And they met with us
yes.
and said, trucks aren't part of our traffic tribunal. They go
We
right
have
to the
go to,
state. So there's nothing that we can get from the trucks in violation.
Not from the truck squad,
Right.
but trucking violations from the 3 accidents that we've had, 3 bad accidents.
Oh, with tractor
Tractor
trailers
trailer.
recently, yeah.
Tractor trailer versus car, 3 of
Like
them in
the
2
past
weeks.
week, yeah.
So, but I have instructed the guys of what violations they can write those truckers that that you don't need a federal
Okay.
thing.
So
So
when
that's
they
my,
came and spoke to us,
right,
they were kind of like, yeah, you're really not gonna do well with that. It takes a.
yeah,
The
yeah.
setup money is needed and we don't have that right now.
Yeah, but we do have the money to set up. if-
We will.
We're
We're hoping to.
It would
What
be for the
this
next
is-
bus
My concern
budget.
is the money, just
Right.
like the
It
would
concern
have
is
to be-
everybody's
Right.
concern is the money.
Figured in the next
And it would
budget.
have to be part of the next budget. Our voting on this tonight would just say it enables you to do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to do it this next fiscal year. You could wait another year, similar to what we're asking for on the ballot, which is further down for the charter change. We're not doing it all now. We're looking at it so it might be something that's phased in,
Don't
but it
we,
enables
It
the
empowers.
council to do it.
but we already have enabling legislation through the legislature, so that passed and we can do it at any time.
But these ordinances cover. But
Right, but I mean, we don't have to do it right now. We have enabling
We can
legislation
set it
that
in
doesn't
place.
expire.
We can set it in place to be ready to go when a council wants to. Whatever
Yes,
council it
understood.
is.
Thank
are you all set?
Yep, thank you.
Mrs. Ryder?
It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that this municipal court for the housing and the ordinances is so that the town doesn't have to wait a year or 2 years, or God only knows how long, to get things moving, which is what has happened in the past. It is a tool for the town.
Agreed.
It's
Yeah.
not
It's like
a
a
moneymaker.
That's
It
how I
is
see it.
A
yes.
tool to make things proceed faster because we need faster.
Yes.
And we also need less expensive because
Yeah.
to set up an effective defense at the state level
Mm.
with the delays and the
It's costing us
postponements,
thousands.
it costs us tens of thousands.
I would imagine, no offense, Julia, that cutting the amount of time that the town solicitors have to be involved in these will pay for the court,
So the solicitor is still involved. The solicitor is the prosecutor.
the prosecutor. Oh, okay.
So they would. still
But
be involved.
you're not, if it goes to appeal, are you still the processor? No,
We are defense counsel. if the
you're
appeal-
defense counsel
Yeah.
at that point.
You know, one-
What?
I apologize. One interesting fact that I heard from all 3 institutions was that when the town enables the municipal court and it's heard locally by local people in front of local people at the convenience of your, like, let's say we were holding it once a month in Bed Eddie. You get a lot more compliance and less trouble prosecuting when people come up and are able to dialogue right here in town and get it done quickly. There's a lot less back and forth delays and posturing. It just seems like everyone agreed that I spoke to that it enables the town to move more quickly to compliance. And I'm just going to say this, in all of my life, in every field that I participate in, we've got referees, rules of order, and an enforcement of compliance in everything I do. I don't understand how towns operate like Dodge City with no oversight, no consistency, zero compliance. It's always been based on, correct me if I'm wrong, we have to admit, we have you can't do it, but you can. I'm gonna let you go this time or whatever. And it's just, it doesn't legitimize the town. It doesn't legitimize the process. It doesn't really bring much to the table. I'm not used to operating without rules and regulations and oversight. Just like when I played hockey and coached, we have a time clock, referees, and rules of engagement for every aspect. I don't know how to operate without the law and order.
I just have
Yeah,
a question.
yeah.
Julie might know this, and maybe she doesn't.
Name and
She's on the
address,
spot, but-
name and name.
Yeah,
and
Philip Keith,
address.
Bob Hill. Do you know how many outstanding matters we have pending? I mean, are there hundreds, fifties,
give a number.
thousands, or is you
Can
just
give a
can't even
number.
guess?
Roughly.
That's a vague question. Are you talking about zoning violations, building violations, or
Anything that would
pending?
be, anything that would be covered by this court as you presented it.
I cannot provide that answer because I don't maintain that's maintained by the building department, not
Okay.
my office.
So no one really knows.
I know, it's roughly 25 to
Yeah.
30.
2,500.
No,
No, 25 to 30.
Oh, I thought you said 25.
Outstanding cases.
Holy cow.
No, that's Phil, that's outstanding court case. That's
Court
not.
cases.
court cases, no.
Not court.
Oh, you mean outstanding
Those are just
violations?
violations. Okay, okay.
Okay,
No.
Oh, so I have another question. Can I-
one,
Okay.
go ahead.
So I'm looking at the town charter, and the town charter says, the town clerk shall be responsible for supervision and assignment of all clerical and office employees of the town, including those required by boards, committees, commissions. You know, I do
Mhm.
probate court, and I should be overseeing it. That's why I'm saying that I don't think that the way you have that written in there is correct.
Julia, what do you think?
I think the council requested that it be autonomous and that's how I wrote it.
Say in collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I-
Time is like, someone has to oversee it. Someone has to oversee the judge.
but I think it'd be the judge.
So the judge is gonna come in and make sure that all the paperwork is correct that we're doing and collecting the money and making.
I don't think you're supposed to do any.
No,
of the paper.
yes.
No, I
Clerk
do
is supposed to.
Right, but you have
There
to.
can't be a-
Wait, 1 second, one. Go ahead, Julia.
It can't be a we. That like it has to remain separate. Those files have to remain separate.
Of course, just like the probate files.
But
Right.
Right, and who's,
But it's just you for probate,
it's
right?
not just me for probate. Nope, it's Carol and myself, we do probate, because if I'm not here, someone has to be there with the judge, just like that, so that's just how that's just how it goes, like. In a small town, you don't have somebody, this is all you do.
So I have a question. If the resolution is drafted this way, and this is governed by state law and federal law, the superior, under the rules of the Superior Court and federal court.
Nope, you are confusing yourself.
Okay,
This is not, these are not the rules. This would say that you would use the same, like the Superior Court rules of procedure as far as like timing of motions, et cetera, that is noted. That you have to make
That's it in there.
good
that We
faith.
have to follow those.
Yeah, that you make good faith effort to resolve discovery disputes before filing a motion, et cetera. This is not governed by federal rules or anything like that. This is language that was put together in light of the State Enabling Act, saying that you can create the policies, the procedures, and the way that it's laid out. This is not. It's not from so the absolute lower is the state law, the Enabling Act, and then you build up how you would like. it
But we can
controlled,
change
governed.
this.
Yes. It's an ordinance like the other 300 ordinances you guys have amended this year.
Right, so you can always change it. Mrs. Rao, you want to say something? You do, yeah,
I do.
you do, okay.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to know how much it's going to cost you people to enforce this case.
what case?
It is not a case. This is.
My case is already.
No, we can't talk
Uh,
about,
nothing to do
we
with
can't do,
General.
this is what the
Just
whole
general.
town of Boston.
The whole town in Boston.
The whole town of
The whole
Boston.
town in Boston, because I'm going to collect signatures. But anyhow, the point is this. Who is in charge of this procedure?
There will be a judge.
And who nominates the judge?
That would be the council,
The council, the town
Yes.
council.
the town
Town
council,
council.
the new town council,
Uh-huh.
if they decide to go with it.
So if they say, oh, throw it out, so then everything is gone,
I'm
No.
sorry, say it again.
If the
No.
new town council
No.
doesn't want to follow this because it costs
They would have
$100,000
to-
or something like this,
They would have to follow this or have another public hearing to make any changes.
and in the meantime, people like me got caught in that mess.
No.
No.
Didn't get caught in
No.
the mess.
Nothing to do
We're
with
not
you.
in this. We can't talk,
Okay, I need to, I need just to air this because it really.
No,
I know.
can't get them tonight,
But-
I've lived in this town for 45 years. and the-
Mrs.
I
Rao,
know.
Mrs. Rao,
but it's legal
we,
issues.
we can't discuss it now, okay?
But
I understand,
But it
Mrs.
is-
Rao, but we can't.
it is fair to say that anybody in the system now will remain in the system.
That's
All
correct.
things are equal.
Right,
There's no change.
it's not gonna,
No change.
we're not, no.
The only thing is if there's something already pending in the Superior Court, it's not going to come back to.
It would
Right,
stay
exactly.
superior.
Exactly.
Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, I haven't closed the public hearing yet.
Gotcha.
So I'm doing my 3 and 3. All those in, is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to these ordinances? Any? Is it gonna be something different, Mrs. Rao? Okay, so we know, and it's noted in the minutes that you had some objections.
Do you want to?
So,
No, I already, that's my opposition.
so is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone that would like? Yep. Is it something different than you've said already?
You raised your hand, Lynn.
Wait, you just said in favor. I think this is a long time coming. And I think it's a very useful tool. And Foster cannot keep spinning its wheels on ordinance and housing issues, because with the new state mandates, it's just going to get worse.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ryder.
That's 2 times I've said it.
Yep.
3 times. Anybody that would like to speak in favor? Hearing none, I'm going to close this public hearing. It is our second one.
Mhm.
What is the pleasure of the council?
I make a motion, we table, let the new council vote on it.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion?
I'm just, I think there are some questions. I think Sue raised a good point. I have hesitations because these things tend to grow legs. Like right now, we're saying no epic tribunal, and I mean, that could happen at any time. I think we already have enabling legislation from the state where it's not time sensitive. We can do this at any time. I'd rather see some firmer numbers on the staff. I also would like an answer to Sue's question. I get we can have an independent clerk, but Sue raised some legitimate concerns about one of her clerks doing it.
I get it.
I just have those questions. I don't think. Like I said, I'm sensitive. We already have. We can do this. That's just my feeling.
Hi, Chris. Let's go ahead, Chris. Chris, you had some points you were bringing out before. So
Well-
now,
It's also something we really gotta think about, because this can be abused. It has the capability of being abused in
okay, so
force.
I'm gonna say something. I think there's abuse now without.
You're right about that.
I think there's, and I'm hoping that this would
It may, but it's
rein
also,
that in.
I'm just making that statement.
I
agree with
think
you,
that there's
Denise.
abuse now. Go ahead, Cheryl. You
Um,
had something.
No, the only question I would have is to Julia, is can we change some wording around that works with her, the town clerk's
Collaborative effort.
concern? Yes, a collaborative effort.
So it's a
If we voted to approve this tonight,
you could
the
vote
next
with,
council could, with provisions that they,
so there's a multi-answer here. If the table motion fails and there's another motion on the floor to approve it, after a public hearing, you can approve it with changes.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
possible.
Mhm.
And then it's just a regular ordinance, so it's just amended the same way you guys have been doing any other ordinances. But one thing I would like to point out is historically, if there were council members who were not here for
gonna say.
one hearing on an ordinance,
That's the way-
they did not vote
Right.
to approve. So as far as tabling, that's different, but if it's if it's a vote to approve, if they weren't there for the first hearing, they didn't vote on it when it came up for the second reading.
Mhm.
That-
So
that
that
I-
means there's only three of us to vote, right?
Yeah, same three.
It-
No, not to table.
Not to,
No,
I
not
would
to
not
table
table it,
Not the
Right, to
table.
table
but
it.
if there were to
everyone
be a
can vote.
vote to approve
I
because
can't vote?
it did,
No,
well,
the
historically,
next-
you guys
This
have.
is to table.
No, I know that,
You can't vote
but she said if there was a vote to approve.
at the
his-
table.
Historically,
Can't
you
vote.
guys have abstained if you weren't there for the
You
first
can't,
reading.
and I,
Right.
That's historically, it means it can change, it doesn't mean that it's written in gold. Or it's
Do
written
we,
in.
do we put ourselves in
That
I
is
do.
a
position
That
of,
is- I'll tell you, I'm so sick of doing all the work or having somebody do all the work. We talk about it, we talk about it, we talk about it, and then we do nothing with it. The purpose.
I agree with you, Cheryl, but I also want to point out that could someone then say, well, historically, they haven't voted, and now they did, so now there's a
There's a
lawsuit.
question. There's a question on
A
this.
lawsuit?
A law,
Or a
a
question on the
litigation, a
decision.
question, and-
I think
It's
that
so-
we operate under
challenge.
fear of lawsuits.
Yes, I
And I
agree.
say, screw it.
To clarify the lawsuit thing,
Wow.
you have a right to appeal the enactment of an ordinance. It's a statutory right to appeal.
Say it again.
There's a statutory right to appeal the enactment of an ordinance of any decision, any decree of the town council, including an enactment of an ordinance. That's,
Anytime.
just,
yes.
So anytime we say something.
You can, and
Yes.
I'm not going to, I can't.
I know that.
Prevent you
Okay, so
from voting, I'm
let's,
just giving.
let's do this
you
motion
can-
that's on the
No,
table,
You do what you want.
and then we can do the next. So right now, there is a motion and it's been seconded to table this at this time. So if you vote yes, that means you are agreeing to table it. If you vote no, that means you don't want to table, you want it to go on to the next motion. That being said, the motion was to table, it was seconded. All in favor?
I,
Opposed?
No.
So,
I make
It
a
moves on.
motion to approve the municipal court as presented to us with the, Julia, do I say this with revisions that can be made in the future if necessary?
No.
no, you have to make it
So you
now.
either have to have the specific revisions now,
Mhm.
or it's as presented, because you can always amend an ordinance in the future, provided you follow the requirements of
Hold
the
on.
charter.
Let me ask you a question. Would the revision be to section 314 autonomy? Would it be
You
appropriate?
legally cannot change 314.
Okay, where would the, if we. give
That's not a
this-
question for me.
Okay,
You need to figure out what the revision would be, and then I could tell you what section it would fall under.
Okay.
But I can't come up with a revision.
Yeah.
I don't have.
I think it should be a collaborative effort, like it's recommended.
I don't have the
So
authority.
we can do it another time though,
Okay.
before we enact the thing.
If you enact it, then I have to put it into.
No, I
No.
said before we enact it, all
No.
we're doing is approving
No,
this.
once you vote on it, once you vote to approve, it becomes the town's law.
That's
Right,
right. Then I
so
codify it.
then
When
you-
you change it, I have to codify it again. I just want-
I know, we understand that.
It's, so if you
So,
vote on it tonight.
Let me
it's
ask this one question, Mrs. Dillon. What is the one, where you
Where is
found your objection? Or your concern, I shouldn't say objection.
Objection.
No, I corrected myself, your concern,
It's 3-3.
municipal clerk.
Court.
So what in that
Appointment of
Do
a
you-
collaborative.
do you
the word
have?
collaboration.
You want an appointment of a collaborative effort?
So where it says,
Well, I
the
think that it
town
should be,
council, so where it says number one,
yeah, number
the
one.
town council shall appoint and or designate the administrative staffing. What
That
would
should
you
be the
prefer?
town clerk shall appoint. That's
No,
the, because that's my, well, then I don't
No,
know how you
well-
can do it any different. You have clerks in the office that report to me,
right,
so
but
you
I
have,
don't think you can have the town clerk appoint.
not appoint, okay, so,
I think you said
Well,
wrong what you would want to
right,
say.
it's just that they,
In collaboration with Sue. with the
Right.
council. The
Right.
town clerk.
The council appoints. The
It's not a
council-
point, it's not a point, it's just that they, the town clerks are under me. I know what they're doing, what
Right.
needs to be done,
No, no.
so that's
But
why I'm
this would
saying, I
not
don't
be a
think that,
town clerk, this
No.
would be a municipal court clerk.
even though
which
it's a
is a
municipal
separate-
court clerk, it's a probate clerk, it doesn't matter. It all falls
I
under
think
me.
it does under this. I don't, that's my opinion of it, is that this does, and what
Separate.
I'm looking at it.
So
I
when
mean,
you, when
I'm
the,
gonna be honest.
Okay.
We know that there's a lot of times, some things are overlooked, some things are enforced, some things are enforced, like, boom, you're really coming down hard. I would like to see a municipal clerk that has no relationship with the town, might live out of town. I would prefer it, but I'm not on the next council, so I
Mhm.
can't, but this is what I've always seen it at. I
so
don't
how do
want
they
anything-
work with the town hall? They don't work at all with the town hall, is that what you're saying? So we hire someone from outside the organization, you say you are now the municipal court clerk.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna train you. I'm gonna tell you what you're gonna train him, what she needs to do, where she needs to put the money that she's collecting, what letters have to go out. Are you
But
following
wouldn't that
up?
be the judge? Am I?
No.
with the-
No.
Can I ask Julia a question?
Sure.
So Julia, the judge that I met with, the one we spoke to multiple times, would he be bringing, could he bring with him? Because it's only one day a month.
His own
Possibly,
clerk?
potentially,
That's
his
not-
own,
That's not a
Make
question I
believe.
can answer.
no, hypothetically, would there be a clerk that would be associated with them that they work with daily that could handle
He's not,
the, like,
he's not a,
suitcase
he's
in?
not a judge that carries a clerk in his pocket.
No,
He's,
all right,
it's-
but in
you're
all
hiring-
fairness, he's in 3 other towns or whatever he's in.
right, but
They
those
have
are,
clerks.
but those are being paid for by those other towns.
And
They're
those
not being
clerks are
paid
in
for
the
by
town hall.
him. It's not like he's bringing an assistant with him or
Okay.
something like that. And that's something, a conversation you would have to have with the specific person that the council is looking to appoint is, hey, do you have a way, like, is there
A
a
pool.
clerk that you
A
work
pool of
with? Is there
clerks.
someone that you know that's looking for part-time hours or something that has experience doing this? That would be, that's a conversation you have with them. That's not something you can say you're gonna. do.
Okay, so if we said in this. That first line, the town council shall appoint and or designate the administrative staffing in collaboration with town clerk.
So
Would
you'd be
that-
responsible for after you hire them, who's responsible for what they do and making sure things get done, money's put in the,
That's a job description.
and who's responsible for that? Who would be
Well,
responsible?
when you're
for
doing
that?
your job description, wouldn't that
Okay.
come under that?
That would come under me.
Well, that's not necessarily. That would be determined by the council. The council's the ones who determines job descriptions. I mean, we've had job
Who knew?
descriptions come before us and we have to approve them or not.
Right, and if you have a job description for a municipal clerk, which is totally fine, who is gonna train this clerk and make sure that they follow through with everything?
I
I
don't
Is
think,
the question whether or not someone that you're hiring to maintain these records needs direct oversight and babysitting?
Well, do they?
I would hope that the council would hire somebody that didn't.
Well, how would you even know? What you think that unless they had experience with this?
well, that
In
would.
with this
that would
town-
be
That was the
the
idea.
pleasure of the
Limited-
council.
given the
Hire
limited
somebody with
hours,
experience.
I'm gonna guess you're gonna get somebody who has experience and is looking to get out of the house. Not necessarily someone who's looking for a full-time job because it's only, a handful of hours.
Did I not understand when I read this, that the clerk is overseen and instructed by the judge? The clerk collects the money and eventually turns it over to the financial person in the town hall. Doesn't have to come under Susan. If it stays here, she collects money here. She has a file system locked in there.
You're correct, that's how it's written now. Yes.
So she would not have to, she'd be trained, because hopefully
She'd be
the next
experienced.
council would hire somebody that's
Experienced.
experienced.
Yeah.
And they could, in their purview in here, do the
Just-
business, lock it up, take the money to Kelly, the way it was indicated in here,
Mhm.
and wouldn't have to come under you, so.
Right.
You wouldn't have to oversee her, you wouldn't have to tell her what to do, and if she's gonna be absent or something, that's arranged with the judge's
judge.
schedule.
Yeah,
So you
exactly.
wouldn't have to
That's the
fill in
judge.
or do
I don't-
anything.
I-
Am I correct?
I would say it's reasonable.
That's how it's written now.
That's the way I read it, okay. Okay, can we go back to the motion?
All right, so a motion
You got it.
Has not been.
it has
I
not been
know.
made
With the collaborative.
with the revision. We were looking at revision. Mrs. Ryder, just real quick.
How about if you said the town council will appoint or designate a municipal court clerk? And if that clerk is already employed by the town, that appointment will be with collaboration with the town clerk. Because I would imagine the town clerk would have to, you don't want somebody who's totally indispensable and wouldn't have the extra time to do this kind of thing.
I think that would go without saying if it was somebody already under Sue, one of her clerks. I think that would go without
Right,
saying.
but just to the interest of getting this, you can say,
I'm thinking
you
that it
appoint it,
doesn't
and
have
but if it's
anything
one
to
of,
do with
no.
Sue. She
I-
doesn't
the
have
way
to
it's
work with
written, I agree with you.
That's correct.
How do you want to see it? How do you want to see it?
I would rather say it's totally separate.
I would,
Town's got nothing to do with it.
Mrs. Dillon, would you want to turn on your microphone so everyone
She
can
can
hear?
hear you. You got a microphone on. Listen to Denise, she's gonna show us show you how the, she's going to instruct you. on- But you're glad it's almost over.
All right, so the way I read
She
it,
just,
it is, the way I read it is I agree with Cheryl. It's separate from the town
Totally
clerk's
separate.
office. So it wouldn't fall under, and I understand. So if she's absent one day, someone from your office doesn't come in, the judge
The judge.
decides what he's
Reschedules.
gonna do.
reschedule.
Reschedules or,
So,
Whose concern is the paperwork that she sees through Jane or?
but that's not,
so,
that's
but who's,
prior
so she's,
to us.
so this clerk that whoever it is gonna be responsible for doing all of the paperwork outside of the office. If they're
Right.
hired somewhere
Just
else, they
like we
do
do
their
now.
paperwork at home. And then what, that's what I don't understand. It just doesn't make sense to me.
It's because it's, does anybody from your office do anything now for when they go to Superior Court?
No.
No.
Okay,
it's
so
just-
that's
I-
gonna be the same
It's
thing.
probate.
It would more so just, it wouldn't fall under, it would be a separate thing. They just may need access to a computer and a printer.
Mhm.
That's it. It would be like the occasional access
can-
to print off like notices. Because a lot of that stuff is just gonna be forms. They're just changing the name and address.
It's
as
the
far as
same,
Court dates.
it's the same thing as what Superior Court is
Right.
now.
Gonna be mad at me that I want. this.
No,
So,
it'll be
Okay.
fine. It'll be. fine.
so
I make.
what
a
is the pleasure of the
motion
council?
To approve.
What,
So we're changing this, we're doing this for everything.
she
Say it
didn't,
again?
she didn't finish it and wasn't seconded.
No, but
But
no. the
she
historic
can't
committee.
vote on it.
It's like our.
Oh.
our-
I am voting on it. Through history.
Okay,
Overruled. Didn't give it.
okay.
I can advise, I don't know.
I know, and I've been told so many times, I can't, I am.
Okay, why don't we let somebody else make?
Okay.
I'm gonna make the motion,
David's going.
but here's the thing, we just wanna amend, section.
We're not, we're not amending anything.
I wanna make a motion that
Well,
we,
go ahead. I would say not recommended.
I make a motion, we accept the municipal court ordinance as presented.
Second,
You can't.
Don't second it.
all right, you.
So is there a second over here? No. I'll second. So the motion has been made, it's been seconded. Any further discussion? No.
I
No.
will, I
Go-
will
go
just
right ahead.
offer this. It's been worked on, it's been talked about.
Years.
The time is now to put this into place. We don't have to, it's not gonna be started till next year. There's a lot of things that can happen.
I'm
It
sorry,
may
Mrs.
not
Dillon.
start. It may not start next year,
Right.
but if it's in place, then we've got it ready, set to go.
And I understand your part with the enabling,
Yes.
but I think it's time. I really do. I mean, sitting 12 years on the council and still having the same violations brought up time and time again.
So
No,
I'm gonna say it one more time before I retire. I did 2 or 3 years on the zoning board, a period of time as chairman, before I ran for council. The number one thing I heard about all the time was the lack of consistency in the ordinances, the lack of enforcement, the blight on Route 6, repeated issues. I don't see how the town is gonna be moved into the future without making and adopting some changes that need to be addressed. I agree with you. It's a long time
I
coming.
agree with you, David.
Well,
But this council is not gonna be the council.
it doesn't
to
have to be,
implement
Chris.
it.
It doesn't have
but
to.
then they don't
There's no,
have, the
you're
next
not, the
council
next
doesn't have
council's
to
under
do
no
it.
pressure.
The next council
No
does
pressure.
not have to implement it.
No. You can
They
stall
don't
it as
have
long
to-
as they
I'm just
want.
trying to be fair.
I know.
Oh, I don't think you can get any more fair.
So let me ask Julia a legal question. Historically, those that have not been present have not voted. If there's only 3 of us and it's a 2-to-1, what happens?
Yeah.
No, it fails because
Okay,
the
it'd be three.
it's gonna be a majority of the sitting
Sitting
council.
So
I'm gonna call for a vote.
So,
Jeez.
how do you
Um,
vote on this historical? I mean,
We've
there's
passed
no
books.
provision, right? There's nothing in the provision,
No,
and the con,
no,
and
no,
the
no,
size
you're
is.
misunderstanding the historical thing.
Not-
The
no.
historical is how they've handled votes when council have missed the first reading but are present for the second reading. It's not historical with this.
All right, so
The
we
voting
cannot
district.
say to Cheryl and Heidi, you cannot vote. We can just advise them that historically, if you're not present for both hearings, they haven't voted.
You know, I think that's off too, because we've had so many hearings and we've had people not here and then come in and we go over and they voted. I know I've been one of them. I believe Heidi's been one of them.
I think we continued a lot of things until people were present.
Well,
That
that's
was a
right.
big
But
problem with
I've
a lot
also
of the
been here
zoning
when
things
Denise
and
has
the confusion.
suggested that we wait until certain people come back.
Right,
Because they
because they
have
felt
concerns.
strongly.
So it's been both ways. It's been
Yes.
fair.
There's been too many, I don't think we
Yeah.
can accurately.
Denise has.
Okay,
been
so the
fair.
motion has been made and it's been seconded. Yes, and I have said, what? I seconded. And I have
Yeah.
said,
Right.
let's
Okay.
continue it
Yeah.
because I've known people have
You
had
said it about
strong
Chris.
opinion.
You said a
Right.
couple of months ago, I want to
Right.
give Chris a chance to
Right.
weigh
Right,
in,
I
Yeah.
want,
and we
right,
all respected that.
so,
Yes.
okay. That being said, motion's been made, it's been seconded. All in favor,
I,
opposed?
On the advice of council, I'm going to abstain. That was the advice of council.
Yep, okay, thank you. So 3-1 abstention. So 3 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention. Okay. Moving on. I
It
said it
certainly
was-
was. Bill.
I said it was
see
gonna be
what
quick.
see what you could
I thought
potentially
so.
get yourself into.
Huh? Oh, go. I'm sorry.
You're
Okay,
excused.
so,
Good job.
if you
Doesn't mean
recall,
it's gonna get
the
empty.
municipal road and bridge program state funds was in our sugar seat, but it wasn't on our agenda. And upon advice of council, we moved it to this meeting. And it's basically, you know, the stock thing that we had agreed to before in the past, and we just have to sign to agree with it again. What is the pleasure of the
I'll make a
council?
motion
It's okay.
for Denise to sign the agreement for the municipal road and bridge program. And receipt of state funds in the amount of 184,000 something.
Second,
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Denise, at this point, I'd like to, at the request of Cheryl Hawes.
Yep.
Add under new business.
Thank you, Heidi.
Discussion of the compassion center, no action, just discussion on it.
Second,
Okay. A motion has been made and seconded. And what is the? All in favor, right?
Had it,
So
yes.
the motion has been made. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so the Compassion Center, Cheryl, you had some,
Well, I just was made aware of it today that it is, they have had their licenses pulled. It's at a standstill.
Mhm.
I think the public need to know that we just found this out too. It has nothing at all to do with anything we've done. I believe it's DEM that is holding them up.
yes.
I just didn't know if there
Could
was,
we have one conversation?
I just
Thank you.
didn't know if there was anything that we could do or we could say to help it move
You
it
know,
along.
I'm gonna say this. It's a state agency that's opposing the construction and the further construction based on findings that they have, non-compliance with certain items. I don't believe it would be appropriate for our state senator or representative to approach DEM and ask them to forgive these violations. And I think the problem is they've been given a couple of extensions over a period of time. Can't say with a 100% certainty, but I know they've been given at least one, maybe two extensions.
I think.
And they're not, and they have some issues there that they have not come to a resolution in a timely manner. I don't know what anyone here could do to persuade DEM to forgo the violations. I don't see it happening
So
personally.
is it something where they gotta rebuild? Or-
I think it's a combination of a couple of things. I think one of it might be contamination in water. I think one might be, they're not involved in demolition and construction. We had a couple of issues with demolition and reconstruction. But DEM is involved purely based on land findings, water and soil. That's all I know about that.
Well, they did say that a lot had to do with.
They
not
did say
meeting-
as in the Observer.
Yes.
Thank you, let's
Oh.
clarify
The
that.
article
Thank
that
you.
I read,
Let's clarify
the
that.
article I read said that they didn't meet timelines.
Right.
Right,
And that was initially.
That
when they
was-
went and
that's
pulled
what
their
I
license.
heard.
Yeah.
Yes, so.
but I haven't heard that from anybody official.
No.
I've just heard that, and not the Observer, but I have heard that.
So maybe the
weren't.
timeline violation is the remediation schedule. They haven't met the schedule of promises for the remediation of the of any contamination or issues that they have. I mean, the state wouldn't be involved in any of the local building ordinances or
Well,
involvement.
but
like
it was
that.
also my understanding from the past that they needed to be up and running by a certain date.
Yes.
And they are
Yes.
not
No.
up
Because
and
they,
running.
because they don't have approval to continue.
Right.
October 1st or something.
Yeah.
like that.
So it's
Exactly.
been,
That's the last
and it's been moved a couple of times.
Hmm.
I
So,
just-
but we do not have any control over it. It's a state, it was that lottery
That's what I wanted
system.
the townspeople to know.
I agree with Cheryl 100%. I met with the owner, the contractor, the security guy, and to the GC, the owner, the
Security.
contractor, and there was four. of them.
Security.
The manager
Fair
of the entire thing. And first of all, this has been on my mind for many, many meetings. That I don't think, has anyone on the council here met with any of these people?
I have several times.
Okay, so you,
2 years ago and a year and a half ago.
okay, but I mean, as of like.
Yeah,
this-
the westerly gentleman, the family and the contractors who started this whole venture. We met with them here, went over all the plans, over the future and everything 2 years ago. And then a year and a half ago, they pulled out, tried to find another location. So it's been a drawn out process.
Right,
I haven't met with them in a year and a half.
I've met with them within the last 2 months. And we met in this building and they did not have a drop dead date to open. They didn't. They did not have that. They had anticipated opening on October 15th, and by construction, they didn't.
Next-
Then they had a hope that they would open by November 1st. And obviously, that's not going to happen. I was emailed by them and said that just what you're saying, that there was a glitch in some.
Have you spoken to the state who did, it's DBR, right?
Yeah.
That oversees
Yeah, I think
the
so.
Compassion Center.
Business-
That might who you want to talk to as far as what their deadlines were.
Okay. Okay, I don't know if there's, if any of you have a contact name,
There's
the
the-
Department of Business Regulations for me to speak to.
The
But
regular,
my concern is that the people that have either asked what was going in up on Route 6 and weren't aware, and these are all townspeople.
Mhm.
When they found out what it was, they're up in arms about this, and I know it was a lottery, I know how it happened, and I get that. But I don't feel that the townspeople have been kept abreast. I think it, maybe in the very beginning, it was out there, but then the probate and the thing that it was tied up and tied up and tied up. And years later, people are thinking about COVID and all of
Right.
a million things. But the townspeople that I've spoken to that have called me and that have approached any of our officers on the street, they're up in arms that the council, or maybe not the council, but the town hasn't been open with them about what's going on.
Let me try to take a stab at that. There's two things. One is, we've already approved it ceremonially.
Years ago.
Years ago, some of these
And-
people
and-
weren't even living here.
And you're right.
Right.
And we had some say, but very little. And they pulled in and out, back and forth because of personal issue or business issues. Business issues caused a roller coaster ride we could never have kept up with because we weren't privy to the state findings, DEM, probate court, who owned it, who didn't. There were contract disputes where the Compassion Center people, Greenleaf, threatened to sue the landowner for false representation.
Yeah.
There was all kinds of accusations and things going around that clouded everything. And to be perfectly honest, Chief, who has the time and the bandwidth to sit back and follow all this and to see it through when we have no more say? It's been approved by the state. They got the license. We approved it. They looked
It's
for
a-
locations in town, and it's really out of our hands now. I
It's
think.
no different than if.
No,
Put the thing in the ground, the shovel in the ground. I said, what's happening over
Yeah,
there?
did not-
I
had no
nobody-
idea.
How many
nobody
times did we
informed
It's
us.
say
no
I think
different than
somebody should-
Walmart coming to Foster. What do we got to do with them building a building? Building inspector goes and inspects. That's it. What they decide to build is their.
If they say Walmart's coming on November 1st and then 4 or 5 or 6 years go by, people have forgotten about it.
That's true.
And then all of a sudden you see construction, some of the people haven't lived here. A lot of the concerns that I have, and I have gone toe to toe with some people at town hall. They're saying it's medical only, and it's not. It's absolutely
No, that
recreational.
all changed.
well, let me
It
say-
all
Originally, it
changed,
was
but a
just
lot of
medical.
people don't know that, and a lot of
It
people.
changed after it was approved because they got permission. They
changed.
knew the
It's
medical
a
was
swipe
gonna
of a
be-
pen, David. I've
Exactly.
done,
So
because
how-
it's legal.
Let me ask you this. What remedy do you think could be given to these people to appease them now? We've approved it. The state says it's okay. They entered into a contract with the
It
landowner.
hasn't been brought up in any of the town council meetings. It hasn't been on any,
It did years ago.
not recently, and
No,
now.
Because it's already been approved.
It's out of our,
It's already been
jurisdiction.
approved.
It is out of our, if it's out of our hands, but I understand your point, and you're right. It's out of our hands. They didn't call Denise and say, can I build a compassion center in your town? And she goes, yeah, go ahead. It's the
Okay,
town.
so
But I
let me
think
ask you
somebody should
this,
have been
Gina.
appointed to stay on top of it, and then once.
Okay, so Gina,
Yes.
let me say this, okay, let me ask you this. So there are things going on Route 6, being built on Route 6 over, used to be the motel there.
Yep.
I don't know what's going there. I have no idea. Do the people in town have any idea? What should I announce or should anybody on the council announce? Hey, you know that Joe Schmo is building this.
But
over
you would
here on
know
Route
if it was
6?
a business, would you not?
No, how would I know?
I don't know.
Because it doesn't
I don't
come to
know.
us.
That's where I'm green, and I don't know
It doesn't-
how things. If a-
Planning
Right.
board.
Bill was
and-
involved
Right.
intimately for 2 years, but even he'll tell you,
Who?
Grant and Mike Antonellis, because
Yep.
I met with
Right.
Mike
Started
Antonellis
with
twice.
Mike.
So it was a year and a half, 2 years ago. Here's something I just want everyone to know. it really wouldn't have been appropriate or even reasonable to expect them to call us every 6 months and say, is it still okay? Is
Right.
it still okay?
Right.
Can we still build it? It's been
I,
approved.
no, I don't think,
No, I hate to
I
sound
hear-
silly, but
and
but
that
it-
is, and
it's
I,
not-
and I
it's not up
totally,
to
I
us to
totally,
inter-
I agree with you.
it's not up to us to interfere with them once it's been approved. They're following a
Been approved,
process.
they're-
This
they're at the
is a,
state
this
level.
is not a barber shop.
We know
This
that.
is-
I understand that.
Cats
But
are,
it's
the
so
house is
different
already.
than the-
I know you understand it, but the reason my concern is the calls that I'm getting, what kind of trouble are we gonna have? What kind of riffraff is gonna come? What, and it's not your local convenience store.
But
It's
it's-
something that it historically in
Or
other
a
parts
barber
of.
shop that sells drugs.
Right.
It's no different.
Say it again? I didn't.
I
hear.
said, or a barber shop that sells drugs, or a bar that's selling drugs out of the back door. It's no different.
Okay, here's
different.
Gina, I know,
Could we-
that's
could we-
even worse than what I said.
There are compassion centers that have gone up all around the state
Mhm.
that are broken into at least once a month.
But chief,
In,
I
in,
have
in, where state police are in charge, this is just a concern. I'm getting calls. I
agree.
have been
I-
getting
listen,
calls
I'm-
and
I'm
that's
not
why I
for
wanted to bring
I'm
it up.
not- personally, I'm not for it, but it's out of our hands. It's a state given right of these people to open
It's
up where they get
absolutely a
their
state
license.
given right, but because of what it is, and I'm not against, I don't care if you smoke pot. I could care less. I could care less before it was legal. If you want to smoke weed, you want to smoke weed. Medically, I've known patients that have done it for years. However, this directly affects the police department.
What would you think would be a reasonable remedy? In all fairness, what would you expect us to do now? It's been approved and they're building. What would you like us to do?
I think
What's the remedy?
two things. I think the town should be aware of what's going up. If there's a delay in it being completed, and that's your answer. When is it going to be done? We don't know. It was supposed to be done November 1st and now
And that
there's a
did
state
go
that
is fair.
through, that went through our building and zoning and our planner.
Exactly.
They've been working with them.
That's right.
We're not gonna micromanage our department heads.
But even they don't know.
But who informs the public of these types of things?
Susan Joyce is
Yes,
going to
sure.
tell. Can you come up? Name and
Susan
address.
Joyce,
Thank you.
Windsor Road, and I'm on the planning board. So it has been on the planning board agenda many times. Sorry, I thought you went that way. It has been on the agenda a number of times. Sometimes we just, Grant McGregor says there's nothing new to update or whatever,
Mhm.
but it's there. And that agenda goes out to the public. So anyone from the public could
Mhm.
come at any time and ask
Good
questions.
point.
And I also don't think when we first started talking about it, I don't recall a lot of people coming to
That's true.
those first meetings.
No, they
either.
did not. There
So-
was not any
No.
public outcry whatsoever
Right.
in the 4 years that I've been on the council.
Right, so,
point though, at that point, when it originated, because I've done my research, at that point, it was only medical.
Right,
That's
and
right.
so what would, what,
Average-
right, and the
Recreational
state,
had not been approved yet.
right, so what,
And they weren't popping up all over the state at that point.
at any rate,
I still-
I
still
appreciate
don't-
you telling me
Chief,
that.
Chief,
that
in
it
all
was-
fairness, I think it's the dog, horse has already left the barn. There's not really much we can do. They've
No,
been granted the right.
I'm not saying get rid of it. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm
Well,
not
it might-
saying
it
I'm.
might
so
never
what,
happen.
what are you asking for?
Well, you answered part of it by saying it's been on the agenda.
Yep.
The majority of the people that I'm getting calls from now were not here years ago.
They probably.
Fair
don't
Did not
who I
know
am.
what this was and is it true, chief? Is it true? They'll stop one of the officers on the, is it true? Like, is that, some people
I've
think it's
never
a,
gotten a phone call.
I haven't either.
well, they're
So
gonna
they-
call the police because it's drug related.
That's a good
They're
point.
probably not gonna call the town council president because
Well, you're
they thought
telling
it was a
the call
Dunkin'.
machine.
Some people think it's a Dunkin'.
So what do you think we should have, like an informational meeting or something?
I think-
But they
My
have the
phone
plan,
number is
it's on the plan.
On the agenda.
Website.
I don't think that it's not, I think it's a good idea to have an informational meeting. I think it's another good idea, and I know you guys are leaving, but maybe the next town council I can bring up to sit and meet with these guys and see what their timeline is, what the glitch is. if they think it's gonna happen in 2024, or if it's gonna happen mid-25. And I think that the public could be invited to answer any questions.
And that's a good ask. I'll just say this, it is a good ask, and you might have to wait a little bit because the state doesn't move quickly. And as of right now, there's no answer that they have that they can continue to build under the present conditions. Now, I can't tell you with any certainty at all if they're giving them the option to remediate the soil, get an outside water source or a tank. I don't have any idea what the next step is for them to comply and to continue the build, but they've been halted. It's stopped. And why would they continue the build if they've got no water and septic?
Right.
And if they're under violation and the state, I'm overstepping, but they could possibly get fined.
Oh, probably will.
No,
But
they
I
wouldn't because
wasn't
they don't
aware
own the
that-
property.
I wasn't, well, I actually received an email, it was a while ago, saying that they had run into some glitches, but I wasn't aware of. It seems like you have more,
Only hearsay, chief, because I
Well, I
don't
don't- I
know.
don't
Okay,
do
so here's the
hearsay.
thing. All right, well, let me put it to you this way.
just because.
Well, let me put it
because
to you this way.
You can't.
I
deny
start
that.
to build a home. I buy land in Foster and I'm building a beautiful home. I showed the blueprints to the planner and the building official. It's all stamped and ready to go. Why would I stop in the middle? I'm only losing money. It's costing me dollars every day to
Right.
keep that job. So you tell me, why would they stop if we're not, if
Somebody stopped them.
they were stopped and ordered to
Right.
stop, and they haven't told us anything about it yet because it's between them and the state.
My phone number and my email, is an avenue to get to my email, is posted on the website. So if anybody really had a concern, they can call me, that
Mhm.
email is forwarded.
Well, the chief
And
makes
I
a
know
good,
mine and Denise is activated.
the chief makes a good point. They would go to the chief because she's law enforcement and they're upset.
But
And
not,
it's-
they might come to you guys if there was a Walmart. They're not gonna come to me. They might come to me and say, what are you
Yeah.
guys gonna do about traffic when they open? And then it'll
If
get in the
we have
water.
an informational right now, we have no
Bill
information.
first, then you.
The bottom line is when this does commence, and it's unfortunate because this same group, maybe part of you will be here, and two of you won't. We need, and I'm putting it out there for all my Zoomers to hear, we need more people on the road. And the problem is always money, right? It's always money. But in order for this to be successful and to think that there's potential criminal activity that could happen to a place like this, there's potential criminality that could happen to any business that comes in. You know, they can rob a convenience store, but yes. Yeah. So that's my concern. I have met with them very recently, but at that point, they were still operating. They were still,
I won't drag
Working
this
away.
out, chief. I have one ask.
I have two people that want to speak,
Sorry,
so keep
go
that. No, go ahead. I'm just
Is
saying.
it possible to meet with their security and manager
I did.
and require them to have on staff, like security guard staff?
I did.
I don't think
So
we
they-
can.
I don't
they-
think we can, but they're a primarily cash business because federally marijuana is still a controlled
It is
substance.
cash.
So they are a primarily cash business. They have security.
Good point.
They have security, but it is not 24 hours. They have cameras. They do not, I've met with the security team. I know him personally. He's a current policeman.
Oh, good.
But
So
he's
you have an-
retiring. He's retiring. He's making a team, but it will not be a 24-hour secure. We will be on the
You'll
hook.
get more
They have gone
information.
to the state police to see if they wanted access to cameras. That's not going to happen. We're going to try to get access to cameras in our police station. And just if it's here, yes.
Streaming, yeah.
So this is the behind the scenes things that we have done, that the captain and I have done to mitigate any potential problems.
Thank you.
So,
That's excellent.
And I don't mean to cut you short, but I have some more people that would like to
okay.
speak. Thank you.
I was just,
So Keith?
Bob's Hill. I was just concerned about the security. I want to make sure that there's a process in place. So if security concerns come up, that they have some communications or means of communications to meet with the chief to address them before they get out of hand.
Thank you. Mrs. Ryder.
Just as a suggestion, because this article obviously in the Observer is going to get a little more
I
play.
can't wait to go to Shady's tomorrow night.
Maybe
Too.
the town could just put something out about, yes, this has been in the newspaper. It has been something that's been approved back in whenever. At that time, it was just medicinal. And now because of state law and, the town has nothing to do with it. It is just state, but then also maybe to make people feel a little better, if the chief can find out the security
Exactly.
and try to allay people's fears, but get it out there because you're going to constantly be.
But right
Flagged down.
now it's a mute issue because
It is, except people are just hearing about it again. And believe me, people have the retention of a gnat. So it's just a thought. It's not a recommendation because I know it's not on the agenda officially. So there's no really action.
So
being
Lynn,
taken.
and this is for Sue too. Here's the thing. How much information can we put out when over 4 years, nobody attends the meetings? They don't see it. They don't ask about it. It's on the agenda. It's in the paper.
That is Foster. It
No,
always
it's
has been
everywhere.
Foster. It
So
always will.
how do you propose we reach these people any differently if they're
All
not
you
doing it
can
now?
do Is, I don't know, email blast, put it on social
Okay.
media, but again, this is what happens when you
Well-
have a town that doesn't have a real newspaper.
well, but look at, okay. So I'm just gonna throw something out there. And then Julia, you can say yours, pot. And the chief is getting up to say something. Oh. We've had discussion
I know.
on the council as far as it. Planning board has had it. We have had how many email blasts, all this other stuff about the Homestead Act? And we still had people come in and say, never knew anything about it, didn't know anything about it, I don't know. It's not fair, how come about?
If
I
they're not
don't-
looking, they're not gonna know.
I know, but how many times you'd have to tell the same kid the same thing 1,000
I
times?
get it, but I
Good
mean,
point,
there's
Lynn
just so
Ryder.
much you can do, but
No.
that's a good suggestion.
Just-
Julia, you had I do like that suggestion.
I'm sure the chief will agree with me on this, but we probably don't want to go into too much detail about the specific security because we
Right.
don't want someone to have a playbook.
Right. Right,
That there will be some.
yeah, well, I would, any good business would have one. All right, thank you. Did you have something else you needed to say?
No, I only wanted to say to the chief, if you have it in, which you do with this security person, he'll have more inside information than any of us.
I know.
Yeah,
Maybe you can tell me later on, like what he
I
said.
don't want to.
thank you. Thank you,
Sorry, chief.
Ms. Hawes and Ms. Rogers for bringing it up. Let's. Well, thank you.
I just thought it needed.
No,
to
I-
be addressed.
I get it.
I'm gonna do that to you guys from the audience. Denise is
Um,
gonna show up and torture everybody.
The next item is the police station land transfer. Mr. Brayton and I met with the planning board. The planning board approved it, so we now have transferred that land. I would just like, and I'm sure, yes,
Another long time.
yes. And what I would ask from the council is if we could send a thank you note, some sort of recognition to South Forster for donating
Yeah.
that piece of property to the town, because it's been forever.
Yes.
Would you like to make a
And it's
motion?
been just, what, is a thank you note
I make a
enough? Is it-
motion that we empower the town council president on behalf of the town council to send a note of thanks to the South Forster Fire Department.
Second, that was gonna be my motion too.
You wanna do it?
Do you
Go
think?
ahead, take second.
So
You guys
the
can-
motion is, so for discussion, is a thank you note
Yeah.
Enough.
exactly.
No, I
What
don't
do you
think
think
so.
should be?
I think we should make them a plaque.
a plaque saying,
Oh,
but,
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know, a piece of paper
You're empowered
doesn't
to
do
do
it
it,
for
so-
me.
No, but.
no,
I think we
I,
should put something on their wall that
at South Foster.
at South Forster.
a plaque at South
It's-
Gloucester.
That says it.
Yeah, see, I didn't think a thank you note would be enough,
I don't-
but
No, that's
I,
a good idea.
I just was gonna say a trip to Bermuda or something.
but I think
Crazy.
well, certainly Chief Brayton has been putting a lot of time in to get
He's
this.
not the
He-
only one.
No, he's not.
It's a lot.
He's their voice. He's
He's their
their,
voice.
he's the
yeah.
one who's attended the meetings, but they have had meetings at their department.
And they
So-
weren't doing anything until
Right,
they knew what
Right.
we were gonna
So
do.
Heidi, we can send the letter, but
Yep.
let's do
So you wanna vote on
Yeah.
that first and then
Uh,
make
yeah,
another
let's
motion
make a
to
second
do
one.
plaque?
so a thank you note, and it's been, a motion has been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, thank you.
New
Now,
motion?
new motion.
Stoney, make the motion.
Make a
Go
motion to
ahead.
present a plaque.
No, Heidi's thinking.
Oh,
Yeah,
I gotta let Heidi think.
yeah, no, well, I'm just, I mean, we've,
I'll make the motion.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
That we give Denise the permission to
Purchase a plaque.
purchase a plaque.
It's like something commemorative so that you don't get hung up on the word plaque if it's something, you know what I mean?
Okay, what do you want me to use?
Plaque.
A plaque
Display
is good.
A plaque is fine.
Plaque is fine.
Plaque.
Plaque is good.
No, we don't.
a plaque
Yes. not
Yeah.
complicated.
to South Foster Fire Department acknowledging their generous
donation.
donation of their property. to the
Second.
Yeah.
town.
Actually, Heidi seconded.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Good
Thank
job,
you.
Good
Chris.
good
I-
thinking, Chris.
Chris, that's
Mm.
great, and
Yeah,
I
that's a good
appreciate
idea.
that. So, all right, so then the last thing on our open session, Kelly was going to present it. As you know, and it's already been going on, we have a charter amendment on, the ballot. And it is in regards, it's the only one that the council moved forward. It's in regards to the requesting of changing it from 2% to 4% for the capital. There was an email blast, I believe, Mrs. Dillon sent out in regards to that. But if, does somebody want to read what Kelly has written up that was in the email blast?
I can. Okay, explanation of the local ballot question. The ballot for this election cycle includes,
Yeah.
a local town question asking voters to increase the capital appropriation to 4% of operations. To explain further, the current charter mandates an appropriation of 2% of the town's budget for operations to support the town's need for capital improvements, road and bridge repairs, fire, police, and rescue vehicles, and equipment, major repairs and improvements for buildings and grounds, school, town hall, town meeting house, Benjamin Eddy Building, police station, Woody Loudon, Nike, recreation fields, and more. And I do believe that 2% has been in place since the charter was
Oh, yes,
created
yes,
in what,
yes.
1974? In dollars and cents, 2% annually equals about $330,000. This amount covers less than 40% of what the town spends annually and is not enough to sustain the necessary improvements. The road plan alone states an annual expenditure of $350,000 is necessary to simply maintain the town's existing roads. Through the budget process and by vote of the taxpayers at the financial town meeting, we voluntarily fund 3.37. But because this is not mandated, the extra funding could be reassigned during the next budget cycle to fund another initiative, which could go unnoticed. By approving this charter change, funds currently budgeted for capital could not be reallocated in future budget cycles for something else. By voting favorably on this question, the additional money currently budgeted for capital in excess of the 2% mandated by the current charter language would be safeguarded. The additional funds necessary to fund the full 4% currently amounts to approximately $90,000 and would be phased in over the next 3 years to avoid a financial hardship.
And I would like to add, this does not make your
The
taxes go
Right.
up.
Thank you. I'm
Right.
surprised I didn't see that in there.
It
Uh,
does
gonna be-
not.
But because,
I think people just don't
because
understand that.
it's,
It's
I
not
said-
black.
it's not
Every
black or
time.
white.
It's been-
Oh, okay.
it's been
We
on-
don't want to lie.
Right,
it-
it's been called a slush fund for the
Right.
council when it was proposed on former
Oh, yeah.
But if
charter
you-
amendment.
If you look on what the budget, when we have our financial town meeting, and Kelly develops that budget with the department heads, and then she puts in the chart.
Yep.
I like a chart, I like a flow chart, the pie chart, bar graph, I like that. Kelly felt that words would be better. If you look at that at the next financial town meeting, you'll see how much we spend just out of necessity. It's
Mm.
no longer, we try to put money aside,
Yeah,
put more money aside, but eventually we're not gonna have anything in the capital except for what's put in that year.
yeah.
And as we had said, and it says on the ballot, that it won't be a 4% next fiscal year. It will go up.
Phased in.
We're phasing it in so that it
She's
isn't,
already doing it.
right,
Right.
she's already doing it.
It's
We wanna
already
do it.
Right.
But this,
But,
She's almost there.
but there's been other councils,
it can be,
Right.
the money
there've
can
been
be
other
diverted.
councils
Won't put
that
it in.
have not, that have said, yeah,
Well,
okay,
fund
we're
it.
not putting that in, we can use.
Right,
this
but by
under-"
charter,
But
it
if
protects
it's by
us.
charter, so I really, it's been on the ballot before
Mm,
and it's been voted down.
it's been misunderstood.
It's been misunderstood.
Mm.
We're hoping that
Just-
this helps everybody understand. It's just, you wouldn't run your household like this.
Right.
And that's what, you wouldn't run your household like this.
Mm.
Maybe,
We wouldn't
maybe
run-
you, David.
Don't judge
We
me.
wouldn't run the town like this, because you certainly can't keep going to the well and then there's nothing there.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So I'm hoping that everyone votes yes on this particular
I'm
charter amendment. There's no need for a motion
Nope.
Right.
for that, but there is now to go into, we have trunk and treat on Saturday night.
Mhm.
They working out here. I can't wait to go out and see the lights and
No,
et
they went-
cetera.
They went home.
I know, but there are
Yeah.
lights, they have.
There's caution tape
Still
and
lights
everything.
out there.
Yes, there
Yeah,
are.
they're on.
One's
They're,
right in the window.
They
right
had
now.
the spotlight out there.
I know, but they have lights, solar things that are gonna be, when you go out, you're gonna see little jack-o'-lanterns. So make sure you see that. It looks good.
Go.
Make sure you come out and do trunk or treat. I am going to have a trunk if anyone from the council would like to join me.
Well,
And recreation, not recreation, Foster Old Home Days is having one.
Yeah.
So preservation is, town hall is, so. More the merrier.
Okay.
We'll take a motion to,
I move to go into executive
Forward.
closed session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5 for discussions or work sessions regarding collective bargaining, contract negotiations, or litigation according to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-582, and to reconvene an open session, and further to keep the minutes of said meeting closed and the minutes of all executive sessions held previous to this meeting be closed and remain to provisions of general laws of Rhode Island 42-46-4 and 5.
Second.
discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, we'll take a few minute break. Thank you.